Well, welcome to the 5D Academy of Higher Consciousness. I'm Zarathustra, and this broadcast is being done from Sedona, Arizona, which is my home, and I consider it my power place. And I feel very grateful because I had a chance to come back here and get get a chance to be in the Red Rocks, and it's getting close to the time of the year that the monsoon season starts. Sedona actually has 5 seasons, and its summer falls into two sections. It's got the dry summer and the wet summer. So we're kind of right now in a transition and getting into the wet summer. So, so there's clouds building up in the Gulf of Mexico, and the cloud starts moving up through Arizona. And as they're coming up, going all the way north to Utah, they shower Arizona. And so all of a sudden you get these rains in the middle of the desert, in the middle of the summer. So, and a lot of lightnings. Um, so actually this area is very, very beautiful at this time of the year. It's green and lush, even though it gets hot, but then after the rain, it cools off. So I'm going to post some pictures and videos. This time I wasn't so much into taking photos or making videos. I'm kind of moody, and sometimes I don't feel like doing anything. I get lazy, and I don't post anything. And then I'm sure you've seen me on social media. Sometimes I really get into it and boom, 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 start posting things. And sometimes I just drop the ball. So anyway, um, um, in the midst of everything is happening in the world, with all the news that we're hearing all the time, all the stuff, the war, the pandemic, the politics, the global warming, energy crisis, and so on and so forth. It keeps going. I like to share one thing with you. In the core of existence, in the very core of it, there is nothing happening. There is absolutely zero activity. Nothing is going on. It's absolutely silent and absolutely still. But the moment you come into the world of mind, and mind is the Maya, illusion, then your personal problems appear and the world appears. Everything comes to come back again. So one of my goals in the work I do is to help my people, my friends, my brothers, sisters, to take a moment during the day out of the madness, the chaos of life, and reflect back, to sink back inside into this place. And this place of stillness, of silence, of quietness, this place that there's nothing happening in it, is nowhere but within our own selves. So, in one way, it's extremely simple because it's within yourself and it's within your reach. So, if you have the willingness to touch it, then it's available at all times. And I think I'm going to elaborate on that more after the meditation. So, the idea of starting our academy with 10 or 15 minutes or 20 minutes of silence, even though to a lot of viewers around the world may not be an attractive thing, because I don't start the academy by just lecturing, is to give ourselves an opportunity to get centered. So once you get centered and your mind becomes quiet and you come back to this place and touch this place within ourselves, then the level of our receptivity changes. We become a lot more receptive to the wisdom that we receive from life, from existence, the wisdom that we receive from our own selves, from our own inner guru. So, although in language, as I'm explaining it, it creates a sense of duality because we're talking about receiving the wisdom from our own inner guru, as if I am separated from my inner guru. But this is the limitation of language because it happens in duality. So the moment I want to explain this explanation creates a duality, which is there's an inner guru and there's a me, as if we're separated. But in the truth is there is no separation. But in language, it creates separation. So be aware not to get hung up and get stuck over the words I'm using or any other teacher who is talking from a non-duality, from a point of 5D perception, from a fifth dimensional perception is speaking. Be aware not to get caught into the words because it's not the words. The words are pointing out. They're just like street signs. Like you're driving on a highway and you are going from one town to another town and you need to have some kind of indication which direction you need to go in order to get to, I don't know, you're driving to Phoenix, Arizona, and you get to a fork and then you see a street sign, it says, or a highway sign, it says Phoenix that direction, Tucson this direction. Okay, now you're going to make a right turn and go that direction. So the words we're using are simply street signs. That's all they are. They're saying go in that direction. They're not the truth. They're only indicating the direction you need to bring your attention to. So I'm going to get into more in details and go over it with you. And if I forget, remind me to do it because I can easily forget about things. But for the moment, we're just going to dive in and just bring our attention inwards. And for those of you around the world on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, if it's your first time you're viewing this webinar, when I say bring your attention inwards, you may just wonder, like, how do you bring your attention inwards? But it's very simple. You bring your attention to your third eye. So it can come to this point. So all your attention comes to one point here. And from this point, you can bring your attention a little bit more inwards. Means, in other words, you can follow your thoughts, the stream of your thoughts. You can follow them to their source. Where do your thoughts come from? And you follow them to their source, and you will fall into silence. Without trying to stop your mind becomes quiet. All of a sudden, all thoughts stop. In a very magical, amazing way, you will discover that you're no longer thinking. So let's do that and take a moment and fall back inside. Slowly, slowly come back. Do you see how simple this is in some ways? By just simply becoming quiet and making that a practice of basically a type of a lifestyle of taking time to become quiet, to be quiet, to sink in and disconnect from the world, disconnecting from the news, disconnecting from yourself, not even paying much attention in your own thought process. Whatever is your thought process, even if your thought process is a holy thought process, you're thinking about God, you're thinking about asking spiritual questions, even that, and even disconnecting from all of that. So you're simply are quiet and not getting engaged in your thought process. And when you identify a thought process, something is happening, the moment you recognize it, so by recognizing it, it gives you a chance to disconnect from it. Because now an unconscious habit of getting entangled with the thought process, that unconscious program becomes obvious. And now there's awareness. You're aware of it. So now it loses its grip. It's not as powerful as it used to be. It cannot strangle you just by simply becoming aware of it. The one thing that we keep forgetting to practice, and of course, a lot of these things require training and require being around the source, being in the approximately of the source, the power source of an embodiment of silence is here. And going back to it, touching it, kissing it, dancing with it, so you can contract it. It's like if you're around somebody who has a flu, they have a cold, they have a flu, and they're sneezing and they're coughing, and you're in their proximity, most probably you're going to catch the virus or bacteria from them. Similarly, when you're around the source of silence, whatever the source is, whether it's your teacher or you're able to create time to be quiet by going in the nature, going for a long drive, or just hanging out at home, or going to a meditative field, going in a meditation group, or here, whatever, however you can create that, then what happens is you also get contracted. You can contract silence. And in that way, you just come back into your own center. You come back here again. And then everything becomes quiet and calm, and you begin to feel the bliss, the love of the self, of the being, of the presence, of the presence. You begin to touch it. So, one way of helping yourself, and when you're on this path and you have this desire to merge your consciousness to 5D consciousness, and you have a strong mind, and a lot of times your mind makes you suffer, is the recognizing this, that the thought, your own thought of I, of me, this me that exists within yourself, that likes something, and you're looking at a tree and you say, I like that tree. And you're looking at some mountains and you say, these mountains, they scare me. I don't like them. So by paying attention on this I, this sense of you that is liking something or disliking something, and to recognize that in that moment, recognition of this mind, the only way it can exist, this mind that makes you suffer because it's very busy and is constantly worried about things. That's the worst part, because of worrying about what's going to happen to me, basically. Because you're not worried what's going to happen to your neighbor, you're worried what's going to happen to you. Ultimately, number one, always. That's what's happening all the time. For everyone, not just one or two persons, for everyone on this planet, it's the same thing. Everybody is suffering and struggling with the same disease, with the same problem, regardless of their financial situation, regardless of their race, their size, their color, their background, their sex. It doesn't matter. Everybody is struggling and suffering with the same issue. And maybe if you are just isolated and in your own process, you may not realize that. But then when you're in a position that you're teaching, and I work with a lot of people from all over the world, then it's very clear, well, it doesn't matter who the person is and what is their background or where they come from or what are the habits or what they do. It becomes after a while very clear why everybody is struggling with the same issue, with the same thing. Yet we individualize it, of course, because our individual experience is very unique to ourselves. But the disease is the same disease. It's the same monster that comes and tortures you. And that monster is the mind. It's a mind, it's a series of thoughts that A has created this sense, this illusion that you're actually somebody independent and separated from the rest of life. And in this somebodyness, in this sense of separation, of being a person, the mind picks up objects. I don't like, this situation in the world, or I like this guy, or I don't like this woman, she's bugging me, or I don't like this situation, I don't like the weather, or I don't like blah, 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 or I'm afraid to go traveling because I don't know, or I feel insecure if I go to a mall because there could be COVID. So your mind comes with whatever story it is. So what happens, there's this sense of you separated and this me, and the only way this thought of me, of this imaginary you, can exist is to identify itself with another object. So it will go and pick something and says, I don't like that person. So in that moment, what you want to do and make a practice out of it is to incorporate this in your daily life. Maybe you do it for 30 minutes a day or an hour a day, and get used to it, of recognizing that this I, this me that comes up, only exists, its identity only exists based on another object. It's only existing based on liking or disliking things. It's only existing of being afraid or not being afraid of something. It will pick something up and it will like it or dislike it, or it's afraid of it or it's not afraid of it, but it picks up something. Or it picks up that the idea like, oh, I'm so lonely, nobody loves me. So this I picks up the subject of loneliness, which is another object. And it says to itself, I'm really lonely. So it's identifying itself with loneliness. Because loneliness doesn't really exist unless you identify to it. It's an idea that it's there. It's a concept of being lonely because you're always alone anyway. You go to bed, you fall asleep alone, you take yourself to sleep alone, and you wake up alone. It doesn't matter you're next to your partner or not, but your process of falling asleep happens alone, and your process of waking up is alone. And most of your life, you're by yourself. Now, you may be living in a household with your kids and dogs and cats and a happy family, but ultimately inside yourself, you're alone. You're not with anybody else. It's happening alone. So what happens is the mind will come and identify and pick up a concept, an idea that I am lonely. So there's an I, and then this I picks up the concept of being lonely. So now it identifies with loneliness. And when it's lonely, it begins to suffer. Suffering happens because of a very strong feeling of being left out. Which goes back to the very first imprint in your life when you were born, of being the sense of abandonment. Because at birth, when you were born, you got abandoned. And that happens to every single human being on the planet, regardless. So the system, or the way everything is designed and set up from day one, it all feeds off of one major component, and it runs on that. And that's the sense, the feeling that or the thought, the I thought, the me thought. So what happens in process of awakening, what happens is you're getting closer to the fire and you're sincerely working on yourself and you're digging deeper and you're going in, is an encounterment with the ideology or the philosophy or the concept of an I, of a me, being separated from everything else, of this I thought, this me getting challenged. That somehow you come across these teachings, that the teacher, the guru, forces you to challenge yourself, forces you to bring your attention inwards, and it doesn't give you any goodies anymore to hang on to, because whatever goodies he gives you or she gives you is going to be another object. So we'll cut off all the objects, and it forces you to challenge this thought of you, of me. I thought, this I who likes these things and doesn't like these things. This I who is afraid of the death. The main part, the most important thing, the fear of death, which rules everything over everything else. It's the underlying fear that it's there all the time. What's going to happen to me if I die? Or what if I die? And but so when you're starting to challenge this I thought, me, this idea of me, my name is Zarathustra, my name is Candace, my name is Monica, I am, I'm Elijah, I am this person, and I have this story behind me to support this I. And what happens when I die? So it's an underlying, it's like in the foundation underneath, with this sense of, am I going to be left out? Am I going to be alone? So the fear of death and the fear of loneliness, being left out, not being wanted, not being pretty anymore, not being in demand anymore. It's hand in hand haunting you all of your life. And vast majority of spiritual teachings in the world is going to teach you of how you can empower yourself, or how to learn a technique to change your mindset, or learn how to use the power of your mind to manifest things, to manifest a better life, to manifest a better situation, to manifest a better health, or to prolong your age. But it's still empowering this sense of I, this sense of separation, and is teaching it how to go grab another object. So the I gets identified with another object. So it's not doing you any good. It's just keeping you in your prison as you were before, because there's no end to it. You never become free. And in fact, you're going to spend more money on it. Means there's going to be more golden bars in your prison. Now the prison is getting fortified. So now you're deeper into this hole, because it's not freeing you. You have no way out. In order to go out, you have to get rid of this imaginary you that likes things or dislike things, this imaginary you who's afraid of dying, who's afraid of being lonely. That's the one you got to get rid of. And the way you get rid of it is by very simple ways, very, very simple method, which requires paying a little bit attention. You have to pay attention. And that is to challenge it. Every time you are afraid of something, there's fear of something, or there's excessive liking of something, it doesn't matter, or whatever story it is recognizing that this I says that, oh, I really hate this thing. And noticing that there's this I comes, this sense of me comes, and this sense of me hates something. And we're not talking about hate or love. Okay. Oh no, you should always love things. No, 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 no. Because you're loving an object, you're identifying with another object. That's not what I'm talking about. Is to recognize that this me, this I who comes up and it says, I really hate that, is at that moment you become aware of it and you say, okay, who is this I who hates something? And you keep your attention on the I. Who is this me? Who am I that hates something? And you keep attention on this I. Who is this I? What is this I? Who is this that doesn't like something or like something? And then you keep your attention on it and it falls down because it can't exist on its own. It can only exist on identifying itself to something else. So that becomes your practice. Are you with me? Are you here? Yeah? Yeah. That becomes a part of your daily practice. Now, you may just do it for a half an hour in one day and you forget. That's fine. You come back here and I remind you again. Or you may remember the next day. And don't beat yourself up because you're not doing it all the time, because, of course, you have other daily functions during the day that you have to take care of. So, unless you're sitting in a cave or you're in an ashram with your guru and all day long you're doing this. But that's not possible for most people on the planet. So, but you can create a discipline of remembering this. And literally every single time, no matter what state you're in, it works. It relieves you from suffering. Whatever, and the more you practice it, the more you get into. And again, when I say the practice, I'm not talking about a practice of an object, like my eye, and now you're imagining your eye as an object, like something. No, it's not even, it's the word I, but it's not even that. But you incorporate this in your life of recognizing that every time something really strong happens, that you're really afraid of rising prices or the inflation, the stories you're hearing in the news, and really activates you and you get all hyped up about it. And in that moment, you challenge yourself that who is this me who's afraid of da 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 da? And by recognizing it, all of a sudden it diffuses, it goes away, it vanishes. Even if it's for a few moments, it goes away. Are you with me? Yeah? You understand what I'm saying? Because if you don't, ask me questions. I'm here for this, okay? I'm here to help you out. So if you're confused about it, feel free, ask questions. It's okay. Even if you ask it 50 times, 100 times, it doesn't matter. It takes time for it to really click, and recognizing it of what is the source of the suffering, of our suffering. Why do we suffer? Why am I suffering? Why am I all constantly going through these stages of being worried about money, being worried about love, being worried about getting older, being worried about dying, being worried about future of this planet? What's going to happen to us is immediately recognizing this false sense of authorship, of ownership that it comes within myself, is identifying with a story, with another object. And in that recognition, you bring your attention on it and you're just looking at it, and it falls down. It disappears every time because it can't exist on its own. There is no thought of me, of I, that can exist without identifying itself to something. Oh, I'm tired. Oh, I'm allergic to coffee. Oh, I need some coffee to wake up. I I need a glass of wine. I don't like hot food. So if you start looking at your thinking process, you realize that it's happening all the time, and you can catch it at certain moments. And by catching it, again, your attention goes back inwards to where before I arrived, this sense of I comes up. What's there? What's behind that? And then you fall into this silence. You fall into this really quiet place. And then you start feeling the bliss, the love. From suffering to super consciousness. A moments before you were suffering that you're lonely and alone and left out, to all of a sudden falling into this state of bliss and your mind's quiet. Like this. It's doable. It's possible. People have done it before you. And so that's a good indication that if people have done it, then you can do it too. And why you can do it? The reason you can do it is because it's your own true nature. Being blissful, being silent, being quiet, being in this place of love, being in this place that there's no busy mind running, that's your true nature. This is who you really are. But from childhood, you've been conditioned, they've been pounding in your head, bum, 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 nonstop pounding in your head, and programmed going to school, preschool, right now preschool from age 3 or 4. Putting kids in school, let's condition them. Let's pound it in their head. Forcing them to sit somewhere, forcing them to be in a classroom, forcing them to learn. False gods, false idols, false teachings. Think. Use your mind, think about future, and then bombarding them with a lot of no's and do's and don'ts and morality, fear, guilt, shame. Keep pounding them in their head, creating false competition, creating hate in them. So it's reinforcing to create the sense of separation from very childhood. So let's fuck them up. Let's fuck them up. And the way out is simply by being quiet, by simply not thinking too much, not asking too many questions, spiritual questions or whatever, letting the mind become quiet, not stirring it up all the time, avoiding stimulants that's getting the mind very busy and running, the news, irrelevant, stupid conversations about politics or whatever, and blah, 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 or just becoming more as a modern sadhu, a modern monk, a modern nomad, another modern Sufi, a modern shaman of taking time, of being alone by yourself, taking time to be quiet, taking time not to ask questions, not entertaining thoughts of any thoughts, spiritual thoughts, just trusting the teachings, trusting the master, trusting the guru. Use a motto, use this philosophy with whatever. If it's good to you, it's good for you. Make this your mantra. If it's good to you, it's good for you. So, if becoming vegetarian and eating cooked or raw fruits or raw vegetables is making you feel good, it's good on your digestion, it makes you feel you go to bed easy, you're eating early and you don't have indigestion, you sleep well. If it's good to you, it's good for you. If a glass of wine, white wine, red wine at night with dinner is gonna make you it's really good to you, it puts you in a very good mood, you wake up the next day, you're okay, you're happy, it doesn't bother you, then it's good for you. If taking time to just be quiet, getting away from all the noise, everything, whether it's spiritual noise, spiritual stuff, all the stuff, you go on YouTube and they all want to teach you about power of the mind and manifesting this and getting the life you want and blah 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 and da, 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 blah, 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 gets your mind activated, makes you feel bad about yourself because shit, I'm at this age and why haven't I learned these things, and I'm left behind and I'm too old, I'm an idiot, and this world is for young people. Avoid all those thoughts and just I don't need to learn how to use my power of mind to do astral traveling or using developing telekinesis or materializing things or dimensional shifts or becoming a healer or shaman or anything. All I need to do is be quiet. And you're never old for being quiet. You're never ugly to be quiet. You're never too out of shape to be quiet. You're never poor or rich to be quiet. You don't have to do anything to be quiet. You don't have to spend money to be quiet. You don't have to go give $5,000-$6,000 for a course to be quiet. I'm already giving it to you free. as my teacher gave it to me for free. All you have to do is just be quiet. Be quiet. Don't get involved with the story. It doesn't matter what the story is. You want stories? Turn on the TV. Go online. Go to BBC. Go to some of these things, and immediately you get anxiety. Immediately. Debates about Republicans or Democrats or the foreign policy and the war, and immediately it's going to give you indigestion. Immediately your heart pressure, high, your blood pressure is going to go up, or your blood sugar is going to drop. I was watching some spiritual documentary or videos. Halfway through, I was like, I was just like, oh my God, there's too many stuff to worry about. It's like, I like these teachings. It's just very simple. Be quiet. Don't think. Be silent. No matter where I am, no matter what I'm doing, no matter what kind of physical shape I'm in. And then immediately coming back here and immediately feeling the love of the self. Immediately, Her Majesty, Lord God, the presence, the infinite love of God immediately reveals itself. How could I ever be lonely when all these magical beings from the fairies, from the gods, from the prophets, from the angels, everything is surrounding me at all times? And all I have to do is just be quiet and receive the love of God, which is always here, which is always coming from my own self, because I'm the very fountain of it. It's as simple as that, my brothers, sisters. It's as simple as that. But I know later on, half an hour from now on, an hour from now on, your mind's going to come and say, well, but no, but it can't be that simple. The mind will come and haunt you. Well, it really can't be that simple. How come such and such teacher is so famous and has got like 2 million viewers on YouTube? Doesn't say that. It doesn't matter. Don't bring your attention on the superficial stuff of what guru and teacher who's big or small is what they say because of their viewers or whatever. Come back to this place. Check it for yourself. You're an intelligent being. You don't need anybody to tell you what to do, what's good for you. Just check in with yourself. What brings you bliss and joy? Who cares about the UFOs and other civilizations? And I really want to find out and I really want to know. Yeah, it's very exciting. It's great. It's adventure, but that's not going to bring you peace. That's not going to get rid of your sense of loneliness. That's not going to get rid of this sense that you are going to die and take the fear away. It's exciting. Like a lot of different things is exciting and educating, and we're curious beings by nature. But right now, here in these 2 hours, we only have one goal: discover inner peace, discover that which is within ourselves, our own divine self, the love. And if you really put your attention on it and you really gear up for it, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, I promise you, you will discover it inside. And once you find this love inside yourself, it's permanent. Permanently, you experience the love and the presence of Her Majesty within yourself permanently. You already have, but it's going to be all the time. It's worth the investment, it's worth it. Hi, Mary. You can unmute yourself.
This is my second Zoom ever, so thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Could you put a little bit of insight around why we incarnate in duality in order to find this beautiful space of peace within us?
Yes.
And how do we move? How do we dance with the duality and being the God peace that we are?
Very good question.
And all of that.
Yeah. What was the last thing you said? The last few words?
So like as far as like paying bills and
right.
purpose driven,
right.
and free will, like it's all about free will, but in this place there is no free will. So how do you dance with that? How can one be present with that?
Right. As you have experienced, like in the moments that we've been together, or you have been in deep meditation, okay? So when you're in this very quiet place, what happens? What's there for you?
It's just pure presence, and I'm completely in love within and without.
Beautiful. So you have been able to access this place throughout your life. Mm-hmm. And even before you knew meditation, you have accessed that place.
I come from a road of a lot of duality, and my spiritual path led me to have that be kind of 1.0. I call that 1.0 the contrast,
right,
to the 2.0 bringing me home to truth.
Yes. So
I now know it was always there, but I didn't have access. I was, having all the duality experience of intense suffering.
Yes.
For a very long time.
Okay. So, but now there are times like you're just boom there. Mm-hmm. And then after, when the mind comes, the thought comes and says, oh my God, I wish I could always be here. And then the phone rings, or then a bill comes, or something happens, and then you go back into the world of duality, that the practical, the working mind comes, and you have to deal with things.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
So, okay, great. So what I'm pointing out is it's already happening for you. So there are moments, half an hour, 15 minutes, and a day, you go into this place. So this place is not something was created. This place is already here all the time. So somehow you disconnect from the world of the mind and you fall back into that. The background becomes apparent. Okay. So answering your first question is, it's a momentarily lapse of reason. It's a momentary lapse of consciousness identifying with objects. But it's only momentarily. I mean, momentarily it could be like 500 years or 50, 60 years. Forget about past lives and anything else. But let's just, for simplicity of the what we're talking about, we'll just stick to this one, and we'll just make it simplify. Whatever age you've been on this planet, so for 50, 60, 70, 80 years, the consciousness identifies with objects and is experiencing this dual world. But since it's not real, it can't sustain itself all the time because its basis is silence. So as you started doing the practice, you naturally fall back into your natural state because the dual world is not permanent and it's not real. So you can't stay in it for too long either. You understand what I'm saying? I think something clicked.
I'm feeling it. Yeah.
Yeah, you're feeling it. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're feeling it.
There's not, words aren't
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
Yeah.
So in a way, you don't have to worry about dying and never becoming awakened because there's no way out. Your true nature is awakened, and that background is always here, no matter what happens, no matter how hard you identify to the duality and the suffering. It can never be permanent because that's not the truth of who you are. So understanding that, then brings some relief, and you can say, oh, okay, I can chill out now. Then yes, you can relax now.
So duality is not sustainable.
No, because it's not real.
Exactly. And free will is
Neither is free will, because
non-existent.
well, free will means that there's separate individuals, right?
Gotcha.
So if there is no separate individuals, they're all like, it's like this, my body is, my right hand says I got my own free will, I have my sovereignty and we do whatever we want, and hey, left hand, you can't come to our territory because we're going to hit you. But okay, and my eye says, okay, I'm a sovereign nation by myself and I got my own thing going on here. But they're all the functioning of the same body. They don't have their own independent nervous system, blood, heart, brain, blood flowing. They're all happening within the functionality of one unit. And same as this world that appears to be real. It appears to be real. But it loses its substance every time you fall back into the self. Every time that your attention comes back and you come here, the dual world disappears. So you can see, Mary, it's much, much closer to you and accessible than anything in the past you may have imagined.
Mm-hmm.
All we need is, we never had a chance. We never were given the proper instruction. We never really was in that field for long enough for it to really click. We never had that opportunity because we're constantly getting bombarded by all these other things, which all of it is a projection of a busy mind that keeps projecting on the other world, utter, and it wants to find peace and love, but its attention is on a place which, whatever object that it identifies itself with, finally it gets the love of their life. I finally found the one, the woman of my life. But since it's not real in comparison to absolute reality, it cannot sustain itself permanently. So it's got a duration. Okay, you found your twin flame and it's going to last for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. But since there's none of it is permanent, eventually it's going to fall apart. And the mind interprets that as a failure rather than recognizing it that this was just an image and it happened in time. Yeah, it appeared in time space, but it cannot sustain itself permanently. So that's why it's very, yeah. So that's why it's so important that we sit together in silence or together or on your own, but you just take your time every day and you come back to this place. And you come back to this place and you remember that all is well, because the substratum of everything is silence, and there's nothing happening in the very foundation of the being. It's very quiet. But then the moment the mind gets activated with the sense of Mary as a person who's got her own free will and she has to really protect herself with that sense, then Mary mind identifies with all these stories and they all become very real. Mm-hmm. So you recognize that. That's the first step. You recognize it. And what you do is you're simply, every time your mind gets really identified with something, cut the connection, sever the connection between this me, Mary, who hates that or likes that, cut the connection. So now there's just the thought of Mary, but Mary wants to hate something and wants to love something. You cut that part. So Mary's hanging out here, but it can't attach itself to anything. So it just falls back into the source. And every time you do it, everything becomes quiet. And you're back into the bliss of the self. So you make that a practice. So when bigger things in life happen, then you have already trained yourself. So you can disconnect from the story a lot easier and coming back. Mm-hmm. And what happens is, since you're coming home, it's not like you're on your own and you're doing this on your own. No, there's an entire fifth dimensional army of love and light. They're all in the process of, you're taking one baby step towards the self, and God, Her Majesty, takes 1,000 steps. So you're not alone in this thing. So don't let this thing come to your head and say, oh my God, there's a lot of work and how am I going to make it? No. This is an invitation to come home. We're all being carried home.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks for bringing up the question. And it's self, it feeds out of itself. So what happens is, naturally, the more you disconnect, you don't get into these arguments about spirituality or my guru or my teaching is better than yours, and And even if somebody insults my teachings, or I don't have a feeling I need to defend anything. I don't have any kind of feeling I need to enter into a spiritual discussion with anybody to prove my point. It's like, yeah, I may say a word or two and just a sentence here or there, but the moment I feel like this is going to create, it's like the other ears are not hearing it. It's like, that's fine, and you just fall back. You just come back here. And the more you're just into your own thing and you're just here, something shifts, because since you're quiet, so your vibrations are not being generated from your mind, because the mind is like this power generator. It's like this battery is generating thoughts. It's keeping you in this vibration of third dimension, which is fully dual. It's duality completely. So all the people you attract, all the things happening come to you, situations continuously is reflecting this vibration, this place that you're in, which is duality. But as you become more quiet and you just dive into this place and experiencing the love of self, and you're just quiet and you just don't go into getting involved in your mind, your vibration starts to rise, and they're rising. So, okay, check this out. So let's say this is my vibrations and this is the reality I'm in. So when the vibration starts to rise, as I'm quiet because of silence, then this reality needs to change and matches my new level of consciousness, because it doesn't have a choice. They go together. So this one, I'm quiet, I'm in silence, I'm getting deeper into my practice. I don't get so much involved. And then something in a magical way changes. And yet, yes, there's this world with a lot of screwed up stuff in it, but they don't affect you anymore. You just find yourself bulletproof to what is going on in that world, but that world is no longer your reality. You're able to observe it, but it's not your world. So it's fears, worries, anxieties, a lot of its rules and laws, they're not affecting you any longer. And your presence, because you're getting more established into silence, you begin to attract a quality of people who they come to you. You find your friends, you find like-minded people, because the whole system supports itself. In the beginning, it's difficult because there's a transition time, maybe 5 years, 10 years, 2 years, but a year, 6 months, but it's the same God, same self-consciousness that wants you to awaken to itself. It also supports you. So you're not left out alone in the dark and cold by yourself. Even though in the beginning it may seem to be that way. How you doing, Hilda Hogan? Nice seeing you. I can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm fine. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah.
Yeah, welcome back.
Thank you.
Elijah, you had a question? You raised your hand.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Hi, Christina. Welcome back. Hi, Shadi S and Shadi A. Welcome back. Hane, nice having you.
Hi.
Hello. Hi. How are you? How are you, Shadi? So, any comments, any questions, anybody? I want to demystify this by, I've said it many times, but I want to tell you this is that there are periods of my life that I experience intensity, like this past month with, uh, it was a period of going through like fires and volcano. And so on this, coming to this understanding or practicing this, and it's not like you don't feel or you're not challenged with life, and life doesn't put you in these different tough situations. It doesn't mean like everything is going to be always uh, rosy and easy and da 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 da. In life, you get challenged by things. Strong things can happen to you, but your weapon is, no matter what happens, is that you never forget, not even for a moment, you never forget or lose sight of the truth of who you are. You always know that you're the embodiment of stillness. You always know that you're silence. Your mind gets crazy and goes all over. Your body can be challenged physically, but inside, at the core of who you are, you never forget. It never touches that, no matter what happens to you. They can torture you every day, or you could be in a torturous situation in life of whatever intensity is happening, whatever the story is. You had an accident, in a lot of pain, you're in in this tough situation, or somebody you love died, or somebody you love left you, and a bunch of things fall apart in your life. You can be in very intense situations. Even if you've become a very high vibrational being, life will challenge you. But the fact is that once you have discovered this power within yourself, the being within yourself, that you never ever forget. And no matter what challenge you go through, you always come back to this place. So it's permanent. So I'm sharing this with you so you don't think like, okay, oh wow, this guy is going to raise his vibrations to a higher frequency, and his reality changes, and everything is always lovey-dovey and easy. No, it's not. That's not it. You still get pulled over by police. You get a ticket. You may get abused. You may just put yourself in a dangerous situation, and somebody may want to beat you or do something to you, or still, you're still gonna get challenged by life. But those challenges are coming from the self, because there is no other. You're not under the illusion that there are other people. It's all your own self. So when the challenge comes, the self is bringing the challenge to itself. And it always to show you how deeply are you rooted into the silence, into the stillness, or how much are you identified with the sense that you are someone, you are somebody, or you know who you are. So yeah, that happens. Hi, Shadi. You can. I see you rose your hand. You can. unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, yeah, hi. Nice hearing your voice.
Thank you. Sorry if there's background noise. I'll be quick. Did you mentioned in the beginning that the thoughts are like downloads. I just want to just ask one more thing in regards to likes, dislikes, love, hates. Those are also then part of
I'm sorry,
objects.
I didn't really hear your. I can't. Your.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
In the beginning we started the academy with thoughts and how the thoughts come, but try not to take it as your own. They're just downloads and there's no
Yes.
free will. And then so I'm assuming the likes and dislikes are also part of that download too then.
The
Where does the likes and dislikes come from?
Yeah, they all related to a sense of I, to a sense of me. This I thought, I'm Zarathustra, I am Mary, I am Shadi, this me. So this me, what it does is the only way it knows itself, this I thought, this sense of you, only no way to know itself is to identify with an object. So it's going to like something or dislike something. And it's not very shy in saying it to itself. So if you're able to cut that connection, sever that connection, literally every time you fall back into the silence, you fall back into the self. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did. I was just wondering, where does Shadi's likes and dislikes come from?
It comes from
something and don't like something.
Yeah, as I mentioned, it's a package coming with this sense of separation, that there is a Shadi independent on her own, separated from the rest of the world. That sense that appears within you brings these other stuff with it. They come together.
So then that was written as well then.
Yeah, once you sever the connection, they all fall. They all disappear. And I'm gonna give you an example. Because the proof is in the pudding. Okay? So nothing is based on hypothesis or imagination or concept. Everything is based on the truth of what is. The reality of the fact that you are that. You are already awakened. You are already in this. I'm going to mute your, okay, because of the background noise. And then if you have a question, you can unmute yourself. The A is you're already that. That which we're looking for, you're already at. So it's a system, is something is looking outside for itself, which is really already that which is looking for it is. And since peace and love and tranquility and stillness is the very foundation of who you are, it's the background. It's like the background. We put a painting on the wall, but the wall is always there. So since that's the truth of who you are, what happens is that every time you are going into a deep meditation and you go beyond the thinking mind, you go beyond this sense of I am somebody, I'm Shadi, I'm a woman, I'm in Toronto, I'm working on self-realization. That story of Shadi as a person, and Shadi wants to become awakened or find answers to the truth, whatever is the story is going on in Shadi's mind. When you go deep in deep silence, they both disappear. There is no Shadi meditating and there's no Shadi trying to awaken. They both disappear. And that's your experience, all of us, every time you go into deep silence. Because there's no more of a Zarathustra meditating. That's an idea. It's a thought that comes for me either before I start meditation or after meditation, not during. During meditation, there's no Zarathustra meditating, it's just silence and peace. During that period of silence and peace, there's no thoughts of, oh, this is really groovy, I'm meditating. That thought doesn't exist because there's no you. You disappear. You go back to the truth of who you are. All of these other things are secondary reactions because after you went through this beautiful peace, then the sense of you as a separation arises again. It's me, I thought. And you look back and say, wow, that was such a deep meditation. I loved it. But not during. During, there's no thoughts. And there's no you since there's no thoughts. It's just the background. In other words, you can never escape the truth of who you are, no matter what. Very good. Well, any questions? Anything anybody has? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. And the nervous system that it will always react, right, no matter what.
Yes, the nervous system is going to react to stimulants, whatever happens.
Yes.
That's a part of the deal of having a body.
Yeah, you can see that, oh, but you are enlightened or whatever, so you can't react. You have to be still all the time. That is not right.
Well, yeah, I mean, somebody's running to you with a knife and your heart starts beating fast. It doesn't matter you're awakened or not. The body and its nervous system, it's got its own agenda. It does its own thing.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you're not aware enough, but still the body is going to react to it.
Yeah, I believe in it, of course. So.
Yeah. Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, my beautiful friends. It's nice to see you again. I do plan on coming back to Europe in this October. I'm still in the process of lining up the countries I'm going to and the program. And I think by next week, we're going to put it up, hopefully. And also in the meantime, by next week, we're putting up information regarding our retreat in Tulum, which I'm doing it jointly with Baramji, and I'm very excited about it. And this one is going to be very interesting because we're also going to go to the Tulum ruins, and we're going to go to the cenote, and we're going to go to Chichen Itza, to the pyramids, and it's entertaining. So, and the location we're doing this retreat is absolutely gorgeous. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful modern ashram near Tulum, and I'm going to be putting out the pictures. So it's really like very yummy. I really look forward to spending time there. So all of it, everything is going to be put up on my website, and I look forward to seeing you. The academy is going to happen next Wednesday, and I think, yes, I'll be in Sedona next Wednesday, so we'll broadcast it from here. My email is info@zarathustra.tv. So if you want to write to me, you're welcome to. info@zarathustra.tv. My social media pages are Zarathustra 5D, and my website is zarathustra.tv. And feel free, if you like this broadcast, um, you can share it with your friends. Or if you're on YouTube and you feel like subscribing to my channel, we'll welcome you to do that. Other than that, I'll send you my love and light. And remember that in the core of your being, which is very accessible at any moment you go back to your silence, there is nothing happening. Everything disappears. And you come back to the love of self. And that's the only truth. Everything else is an appearance projected by the mind. Whether you're sleeping or you're awakened, it doesn't matter. Your body, your life, the world, everything is a projection of the mind. But that's not the absolute truth. You, your being, is the absolute truth. So don't forget your power, the power of love, the power of loving yourself, the power of loving others, your ability to give, to receive. That's something no one can ever take away from you. It's always here. So you do not need to fear of, no matter what goes on in the world, there's no need to fear, because you are that who you're looking for, and that is always here, always, and it's indestructible. Everything else that is happening, the powers, the worlds, the countries, the superpowers, blah, 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 at the feet of Her Majesty, the Supreme Being, no matter how big of an army or government or economy, at the feet of the presence of Her Majesty, there are absolutely nothing. There is zero. And they all bow at the feet of the Master. Everything comes from the being of the presence of God. Every being, everything is operating, and their source of power is the presence of God. So no matter what happens in the world, that's the will of God. No matter how dualistic it is, how screwed up it appears to be, since it's happening in the world of duality, that is what God wants to happen. So recognizing that, you go beyond what it appears. You go and look at the source of it. Not why God is doing it, why consciousness is creating this, is it fair or not? Only you see consciousness behind it. No matter what happens, it's all consciousness. And once you see that, the world that appears to be mean or powerful or majestic will lose its power. It has no grip on you, because you see the truth inside of it, inside yourself. Stay there. Stay in this place and don't come out of it. And you'll soon find yourself that you are free and you've never been in any kind of bondage. And nothing in the world has any power in hurting you or doing anything to you, because of who you really are. I love you very much. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your being. And I send you my love and light. Namaste.
Recording
Thank you very much, my brothers sisters from all over the world on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Sending you my love and light and look forward to seeing you next week. Namaste. Thank you.